could it be haste is making me? What's time at a thing that kill or keep a fire or lose or living? I gotta go faster, keep up the pace, just to stay in the human race. I could go supersonic, the problem's chronic. Tell me, does life exist beyond it? When I need to sate, I just accelerate into oblivion. Into oblivion.
Buenos nachos, amigos. Welcome to another fine episode of Record Breakers. Just like every episode, it is another fine episode. I am PD Rave. Here with me, as always, is my quorum of music aficionados and friends. We're talking about music, and we got, of course, as every week, we have Brett.
Let's talk about some music.
We got Drew.
Hey.
And we got Patrick.
I think everybody listened to the correct album this week.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
Of course, this week, the provider of the music is our buddy Brett. Brett, what do you got for us this week?
We brought the fourth studio album from the great trio from Canada, Rush, and their album 2112 of 1976 vintage.
Yes. The one that you have on vinyl that you actually physically grabbed to show us. When you
the moose knuckle and kimono. Yes, everybody needs to go find the back sleeve of 2112 to see what the hell they were wearing, because it is something to behold.
It's something to be seen, to be believed. It is a fascinating album. Let's go around the horn. Drew, what expectations did you have coming into this album?
Well, to be fair, the expectations I had of this album were to listen to a Rush album. I'm sort of a bass player. So Geddy Lee is sort of someone I've known for a while, being a bass player. He's one of the greats. He's way up there. So Rush is a band I'm familiar with. 2112, especially the first track, like the big overture and everything, is sort of that fun prog rock concept stuff that Rush sort of got into and was known for, and it's just, I was excited to listen to more Rush.
Yes.
I asked for more Rush, and they didn't give me any more Rush.
I was done. I just wanted more.
But wait, we did give him more Rush. Pat, what were your expectations coming into this album?
So I play drums sometimes poorly, and the closest I've ever had in my life to a religious experience was seeing Neil Peart play a drum solo, and I don't say that with any sort of sarcasm. It was kind of life-alteringly amazing. So I'm a bit of a Rush fan too, for a lot of the same reasons. I love Geddy Lee. I think he is. If I could steal a bass player's skill and make it my own, I would steal all of his. And then there's this guy named Alex Lifeson who plays guitar in the band who's also pretty fantastic. It's basically the holy trinity of rock music all in one band. Like, you've got one of the best guitar players that ever lived, one of the best bass players that ever lived, and the best drummer that ever lived, pretty much. I don't know who's better. All in the same band at once. And 2112 is sort of it's them, I think, at their most their most prog, because they definitely did stuff after this that was different than this, but 2112, all-time classic.
Yes. So, Brett, what would be kind of the themes and elements that you would talk about this record?
Well, the album is split into two halves. You have the half that is the song 2112, and you have the B-side. So the whole A side is a story based off of the Ayn Rand album novella Anthem, where you learn about the story of that book is about Equality 7-2521, who only uses plural pronouns, sneaks away into an underground cave and finds a chud or something. I don't remember how the book goes, but it's been a while. Go read it. But they use that as a theme for like a bunch of stuff going through. They're big into objectivism back then, especially the most prominent songwriter, which was their drummer, which is kind of weird. But But
Well, there was a
yeah,
prominent lyricist. He didn't really write the music. He just wrote the lyrics.
yeah. But it's a jaunty tale about the year 2062, where they find an ancient device. Then yeah,
With
I'll let you
wires
listen to the
that
album
vibrate and make music.
and make music. Yes. But yeah, that's one side. You get like a little tale of future horrors, where ancient devices are guitars, which I think is hilarious. But yeah, the other side you get a little less. It doesn't follow the narrative. You get actually a quite broad variety of songs that don't stray too far from 70s Rush.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Drew, what would be the themes and elements that caught your attention?
Like Brett said, 2112 as a track, as the first A-side, and we'll get into the broad scope of it being a 20-minute epic with different movements and such of that nature, but like that whole A-side was really fantastic. Great concept stuff. The B-side as well, just really, really good music. Rush as a band is, like Swagger said, it's one of the greatest guitar players, one of the greatest bass players, and one of the greatest drummers to ever play music in the same band, making this progressive rock masterpiece. This was something that sort of, in my mind, is one of the like just quintessential pieces of rock and roll, not prog rock, not any other sort of rock in general. I think is sort of pushed forward by bands like Rush. There's something about them that's just really, really sort of brilliant. The bass playing is intricate without being too busy when it doesn't need to be. Neil Peart's drumming is beautiful. Like Lifeson's guitar is always fantastic. Like it's always great. It's always good. It's like I wrote in my notes. Come on, it's fucking Rush. What do you need to say about Rush? It's Rush.
One should note that there's quite a bit of intricate singing going behind some crazy bass. Doing that all at the same time is nothing to scoff at. That is a feat that very few people can do.
Nothing to sneeze at. Pat, what would be the themes and elements that stood out for you?
I think this is, we've talked about it a little bit. There's back in the long ago, there was these things called LPs, and they were made out of vinyl, and they had two sides to get through a whole album because they could only play for 25, 30 minutes on one side. So on one side you have 2112, which is 20 some minutes of very serious storytelling, and them being a very serious band. And then you have this side B, where it's everything is the opposite. It's very much, we're just going to make some fun rock songs, because what else do you do after you just wrote like a 20-minute, whatever you could even call that, some sort of, rock opera.
A concerto,
whatever. I don't know how you describe it other than damn.
Damn.
And it almost didn't even happen. They had done albums that had 9-minute song, and then other big, long, huge ass songs that, like Caress of Steel, was a financial failure. They had to secretly record this album because the record studio did not want them to do another album like this, and they had to sneak it into stores. Yeah.
I guess, Brett, there's one big song to obviously talk about. We can talk about some of the other tracks, but what would be some of the key moments in 2112, and what would be some of the key tracks elsewhere to point out?
Well, 2112 is like the song is like when somebody's at the bar and they're playing like Nickelback, and you've got the play next function, and you're getting ready to leave, and you want to sit them with 20 minutes of something that sounds like different songs, but it's one song. 2112 is a good tool to use, but it starts off very strong, so you can have your fun, finish your beer, pay your tab, and be gone by the time they start hearing somebody tune a guitar up,
Yeah.
which is a part of that song.
Yeah.
So if you stick with the the first two movements, you'll have a really good time. Then it'll change pace and be more sing-songy tail time. But I try to keep that as an entire single package. It's also a way that I tell time. Like, oh, I'll put 2112 on, and when the song's over, I'll go and do something else. It's a little, it's a timepiece for me.
Yes.
Like I've flown to Chicago, and from the time we took off to landing, 2112 wasn't over yet. So that was my yardstick. But yeah, like just listen to the whole thing. You'll dig out different things because they do different things in it, different kinds of instrumentations. But it's much more peppier at the beginning, and at the end it has a bunch of really, really crazy wah. Like this is before really, really good digital effects. They were doing things with Gibson's Marshalls and like a Boss chorus and a wah pedal that still boggles my mind. But flip it over to the B side. It starts off pretty strong too. It's got Passage to Bangkok, which is a song about smoking dope.
You gotta love the classic go to pentatonic ding 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 ding.
Yep. It's if you ever see pictures of Geddy Lee with a Rickenbacker with two necks on it, he used that for this song, playing the rhythm during the solo. It's got a really, like all Rush songs, it goes through a bunch of meter changes. It's got a solo that's not necessarily a straight up like Led Zeppelin blues solo. It steals a lot from Led Zeppelin. Alex Lifeson was a student of Zeppelin. But it does a little bit more. He hangs out in different modes than your standard minor pentatonic pit. But it's also got right before the solo comes in. They have a little like sound of somebody sucking on something that may or may not be a marijuana cigarette.
Yeah.
Like that I had no clue until I saw a geriatric Alex Lifeson like in a concert, like being all dumpy and kind of fat these days, and like acting pantomime, smoking a joint, and I was like, oh, okay.
Oh, that's what they were. That's the noise. Got it.
Because I really don't think of Rush as a like band of potheads. I think of them as like something else. They write songs about flying spaceships into black holes, and necromancers and shit.
Well, they were smarter than your average band full of potheads.
Yes, they have a lot more gumption. They're go-getters, and they're still doing it. But and then like the last song on the album, Something for Nothing. It's it's one of the few Rush songs that actually has lyrical prowess. That fits a lot. Like I can only think of a couple like Subdivisions and Something for Nothing are two songs that stand out that actually say something in a way that's got a lyric hook to it, as opposed to them just being great musicians otherwise.
Yeah. I'll go to Drew again. Drew, what would be some of the key moments, I guess, in the first track, the big A side, and some of the key tracks for you otherwise?
What I like about the A side, the 2112, the title track, the movements and all that, like you said, it starts off really, really big. It gets sort of subdued during like the discovery phase, and it ramps back up, and it gets this like big swell back up when they take back over, so to speak, or whatever. What I really like about it is they played it really smart. I've said this about like different concept songs and albums and stuff before, in that the best ones, by people who are really thinking about it, the music accentuates the parts in the lyrics that need to be accentuated for whatever reasons. Obviously, Rush thought that through, in my opinion. All the work sort of pushes forth the lyrics exactly when you need to hear them, and creates this like really cool ebb and flow. The story is really fun. I thought something that's kind of a cool sci-fi story, and not only that, but the imagery in it is really, really strong. So much so that the comic book on the DVD, and there was a book that used the descriptions herein to create the scenes as well. So it's been used multiple times to create other works based off of the scenery and the imagery in these songs, which I think is really cool. On the B side, the two that really struck me were The Twilight Zone, basing something off of something so obvious to everybody as soon as you hear it, but yet it doesn't sound corny or contrived or dumb. I think is really, really cool. And like Brett said, Something for Nothing. Rush being the band that's known for their songs, like Brett said, about spaceships, and having a song that's so blunt lyrically, like Something for Nothing, is not something you hear all the time from them. And it's like Rush is known for, really, really well composed, really well put together musically, and really, really fantastic. A great way to close out the record, in my opinion.
Patrick, same for you. What would be kind of your key moments and on the A side and the songs otherwise?
The first 7 minutes of 2112 is some of the best, like, progressive hard rock ever played by man. Geddy's vocals on Temples of Syrinx are astonishing, and it's a shame he can't hit those notes anymore, and they play this, like, basically a step down these days, and it still sounds cool. Still sounds awesome, but, like, he just screams his lungs out in Temples of Syrinx, and I think for that alone, like, you gotta remember, like, this is a guy who can sing that way for 3 hours every night of the week that they tour. Still blows my mind. I will 100% agree on Passage to Bangkok. That is a great song about drugs in a world of great songs about drugs. And it's very much, it's not like it's very kind of lighthearted and clearly just a bunch of guys are like, dude, let's get high and sit in the basement and eat Funyuns. It's like that, but with prog rock. Yeah, it is. Yeah, Funyuns and Mountain Dew before Funyuns and Mountain Dew. Yeah. Twilight Zone's really cool, and I like sort of on the last couple of tracks, you get sort of this folkiness to Rush, which is not something I normally associate with them, but if I think about it at all, especially in their early stuff, there was like a lot of elements of it. The way they use acoustic guitars before the electrics blend in and stuff, it has like this element of folk to it before it kicks in the hard rock, and it's Rush. I mean, yeah. You could pick any song, and there's at least one unbelievable bass line, even if it's only hidden behind a guitar solo for a few seconds, and there's at least one crazy drum fill that involves Neil Peart hitting 37 toms because he could. Yeah. And there's some, like, Alex Lifeson, unlike a lot of guys who came after him as prog rock guitar players, doesn't tend to focus on the meedly me's. He tends to play really, he can convey emotions in a solo, probably because he comes from that Jimmy Page school of guitar rather than the super technical Steve Vai or Joe Satriani, John Petrucci school that kind of followed this directly, I think.
Yeah. Let's bring it back around the horn. Drew, what would be kind of your thoughts on the album overall? Kind of your conclusive thoughts.
Conclusive thoughts. Well, I'm gonna go back to it's fucking Rush. I don't think Rush makes a bad song, really. It's, as an album, is really well done. As an A-side, it's a cool, fun story that I think you can sort of lose yourself in, as every good concept piece of music does. I think you can sort of just lay in your bed and listen to it and close your eyes and sort of see where the story goes. The B-side is fun music with some joke parts, the obvious songs about, as has been said, drugs, the Twilight Zone, and getting out into the world, stuff like that. And overall, it's a really, really great record. You can't always sit down and listen to the the full A side from beginning to end, but the B side ain't nothing to slouch at. It's Rush.
Yeah.
They're fantastic.
Yeah. Patrick, what would be your conclusive thoughts about the album as a whole?
So normally on the show we tell people they should go check an album out, and what we mean is it has some merits and you should listen to it because it is. I think this album, if you like music, it is essential listening. It's one of the 20 or 30 greatest albums ever made by man. It is. It broke a lot of ground. It is perfect in a lot of ways. 2112 as a collection of ideas and a story that they carry through. If we can, if I could go around and tell everyone who hasn't listened to 2112, if I could just stick headphones on their head and not let them stop until it's over, I probably would.
Mm-hmm. And of course, Brett, what would be your thoughts about the album as a whole?
If this album is good enough to be preserved by the Audiovisual Preservation Trust of Canada, I think it's good enough for you. So it's probably one of my favorite and most musically influential albums that I've run across. But even if you aren't if you can't get past Geddy Lee, which he is the sexiest man in music, he does have the voice that will either make you love him or hate him. But even if you can get past that, go find some of the stuff where he's not singing. They got some of that. Enjoy some Rush. Go listen to it. It's kind of your duty as somebody who likes to listen to people review music. That is a standard band to go to when people talk about skill and prowess, and it'll do your body good.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And that is true. All right, so now we get to the main event of the evening, what we all are waiting for. We have our haiku reviews. Let's start with Patrick. Patrick, what is your haiku review?
Rush, Gods Amongst Men, making an opus their way. Side B is good too.
I'll go second. Precise music with unrivaled technique and skill. May feel like homework. Drew, what is your haiku review?
Prog rock perfection from the beautiful white north. What is left to say?
Mm-hmm. All right, and Brett, what is your haiku review?
A world-class album, strongest trio in the world, Canadian Gold.
Nice. All right, so that is our thoughts on the album. If you want to play along at home, Record Breakers is the home game. We're trying our best. We don't always do the best job, or at least I don't always do the best job of maintaining it. But we try our best maintaining the playlist on Beats Music and I believe on Spotify. Let us know where else we can maintain the playlists, and we will do just that. Just look us Record Breakers on there. Just search for us and listen along. On those playlists will be the next album. The provider of said album is none other than Drew. Drew, what do you got for us?
Well, I got a little band from Arizona, a band that sort of was a cornerstone of the alt-rock emo scene back in the late 90s. A band by the name of Jimmy World. They got big off of the album after this, but I'm bringing the album Clarity.
Mm-hmm. And we look forward to that. Of course, they're going to be on those playlists. So listen along at home. But that is for us. You can find us all over the internet. Patrick's at the Swagger. Brett is at Hibbity Bibbert, HIBBITYBIBBARD. Drew is at XJuiceForX. I'm at PD Rave. The show is at 4 Record Breakers, recordbreakerspodcast.com, recordbreakerspodcast@gmail.com, rebelli.net, for this and other shows, including Hallyu Juku, where we talk about East Asian pop culture. iTunes, Stitcher. Look for us, subscribe, share, like, review. Do the things. But until next time, hasta los huevos.
I really like the dog from Mega Man.
Was not 100% sure where you were going with that for a second.